Hello, my name is Jay Sung. Good to see you. Welcome everybody. We just finished our daily reading. We're going to start with USDT.D. Everything in today's video is never financial investment or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. If you have, I eat red crayons for breakfast in the morning, and so should you. But this is never medical or nutritional advice of any kind as well. Remember, trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. Let's get into some charts. USDT.D is my most important chart. If I know what's going on with that chart, I got a good idea of what's going on with the bulk of the market. I know most of what we need to know just by knowing this one chart alone. This is a look at our chart from Wednesday, or from June 28th, and we were talking about the things happening with this particular chart. So let me point out a few things with this chart that we've been following for this month. Okay, now this chart, this is a USDT.D one-day chart. Each one of these blocks is candles is a 1 day worth of time, and we've been looking at this resistance. We also been looking at the parabolic, which is made up of these areas here. We're able to connect these three areas here, and because we broke above here, what we were doing is we were looking at the complete area and duplicating it and placing it up here at 5.65% and also 4.3%. However, once that happened, we were also vitally aware that if we break through this area, and this was from our June 28th video, if we break through this area and disrespect it and come down, it still stresses the borders at 4.3 and 5.68. So we're really going to be paying attention to this particular area. So I showed you this scenario here. If USDT.D comes down, the support disrespects 4.93. It's because it already has respected it in the past. So we don't have to worry about too much respect anymore. If we disrespect it, it just stresses the borders, which is the full oscillation. It tells us more things are going on with this crypto. So what we're going to be doing is looking into that area. And then I said here that crypto would still rise. However, the yellow parabolic means the mid becomes mid-phantom, and this is projected below. So what happens in this particular instance for USDT.D is we really want to put emphasis on these areas up there. If you're new to reading, this chart represents Tether's dominance. When it goes up, Bitcoin falls and the markets generally fall. When this goes down, Bitcoin rises and it generally goes up. Okay, so Bitcoin goes up and the markets go up when this is falling. So we like to see this in a downtrend. We love to see it. We also like to hunt the up moves where we find them. The smaller up moves being like this in this area, indicating that this is going to come down. This was a chart from June 28th. We're looking for this to this area being cut. We're looking for this to come back down in these areas, and therefore the markers to be more bullish. Here's got another look at this chart. This is from today. Okay, so this is today's look, and you can see that we are including the round action that's happening here, and you can also see the larger round action of these 2 points together, or individually we got maybe some smaller round actions or some peaks, and we're taking those, the centers of those areas, as energy centers, and we're slicing it up here, and we can see that we're breaking through here. Now one of the things you need to understand about USDT.D is that we've been following this for a few years, and one of the stronger areas of this chart is the 4.41 and 4.37 area. Now we already hit this once and bounced off that area. At that time it was a vortex based on some of the older things we were looking at, and that means that there's more reasons for that area to be a support, but we still have multiple overlapping reasons. One of these is in this light teal color, and this is called the target, and then we measure this based on a system we call target system. Then we have two other light blue areas, and these are also targets. So you can see that based on two different calculations, we come up with supports in this area. And all that means is that if price does come down here, we're actually looking to bounce. And so I denote some health by this green circle with a white border. That means I'm looking for prices to reverse in this area. Now, if I'm coming from the top and I'm looking to bounce out, that means I'm looking for this to come up. You'll remember that what I said is that when this comes up, cryptocurrencies are generally falling. And when this is coming down, that means generally cryptocurrencies are going to be rising. What happened a few days ago, I did a private video for everybody, I think on Wednesday, says when we come down to this area, we're going to be looking for Bitcoin to be closer to maybe 113. Bitcoin went all the way to 118, I think almost 120, I think something like that, very close to these. So we're looking for this to be on the downside, and sure enough, that's where we're at today. So here's a USDT.D, and this is where we stopped at. Now you can see we came all the way to the lower target and came right back up. And that's why we really love our target ranges, because we often see a fulfillment of both sides of the range many times. So this is a look from, I think, today for USDT.D, and the area is around the first target 4.49 to 4.36, and the lower one 4.41 to 4.37. So somewhere in these ranges, they're overlapping these areas, okay? And on average, I give you an average price of around $4.40. So you've known these numbers for months. Everyone who's been following me on our Patreon, you guys know this area for months. So when people ask me, hey, Jae-Sung, right now I'm looking to buy some cryptos, I want you to be a little bit careful with this. I want you to know that this is now at a stronger resistance, and it's already showing evidence that we may be bouncing out of this area and coming back up before the move's done. In my opinion, this is not the really wise time to chase after candles. Okay, when we see this revealing the weaknesses, like I showed you guys from Wednesday, then we're looking for that to start moving back down. Okay, this was, I'm sorry, June 28th. Okay, but when we have reasons to believe this is going to further come down, then we can continue entering more and more bullish positions. Now this time I'm going to give you a deeper look at this chart. And on this chart, this is a specific arrow that I drew based on a dream that I had. I had a dream where price bounces out of this area here, and I had that dream several months ago. I also had a dream that price is below this big pink target, 3.51 to 3.30. And again, many months ago, I dreamed that we were somewhere down here in the 2%. Now, for that to happen, that means that price that was up here had to be way down here. So I've been waiting for this time to occur when we are going to be on our way down into this area. So for a few years, I've been looking at the various areas that would bring prices coming down to lower prices longer term, and that would be a very big bull run for markets. We're also looking for this to come up very high, and that would be a very bullish thing for cryptocurrencies. So I'm paying attention to moves or strategic moves within the flow of price that would give us proper excuses to get into those areas. And one such move is getting closes below this line. Okay, so below this white line is about where we're going to be looking to go. Now I'm going to point out a few areas that I think is going to be the next big moves with cryptocurrencies based on this map. One of those things is this blue flat right here. Okay, the blue flat, if I'm looking very carefully at this USDT.D chart, you can actually see that this is very much like a flat. We have actually two cores that are basically in the same way, and the wicks match. So we're going to be using the wick side, which means I'm still looking closer maybe to 3.8 and 3.76. If you are taking notes in your crypto journal, this is going to be an important area, important flat. If we have reasons to break down to these lower areas, I'm going to be looking for a bounce out of those areas, and that's going to match my first dream, where we're somewhere coming to this target of 3.83, 3.45. We have not hit this target for a long time, and it's still active as a target. So we're looking for this to come out. I'm looking for prices to bounce out of here, since I think I've had this dream. So here's December, and I think I had the dream earlier in the year where we're bouncing out in this. Okay, so I'm going to be looking for the prices to make a move somewhere here. Now, if it's on top, I don't know, or if it's on bottom, I don't know. But because I have two targets, the swing target and our active larger target, they're going to be overlapping somewhere in the middle. We'll take a look at that. But on average, we're going to be looking maybe about 3.57. Okay, 3.57. So if you had to put one price on your notes, put 3.57. We're going to be looking for price to bounce out of there sometime. Now, is this now? Is this season? I can't say, but we can look at the game more closely to see when we're going to be entering those times. So I denoted this by putting this big star to let you know it's an important area. I'm going to be really watching for the bounce out of these areas, again, either on the average or here, but that means there's just going to be one more chance before we have the big bull run. So let's break it down. If price gets to here, that means this will be falling and Bitcoin will still be rising. So when this comes down, now Bitcoin is about 120 or 118 when we're here, this bottom right there where we rejected out of, we have Bitcoin around 120, so maybe we're going to be closer to the 200s or at least maybe 150s, maybe 130s, somewhere rising back here. If this move from here to here is about 10 grand, or from 112 to 118, and maybe that's about 8 grand, I should say, then we're looking at maybe another 8 grand and another 8 grand. So maybe 130s, and by the time we're here, maybe 140s, 150s. And that's how we come up with those numbers, okay? Just based on the moves that are happening right now in this season. It's not a one for one, it doesn't work like that, but it's like very much energizing to Bitcoin. So if you guys are looking for, hey, what will the markets look like when we finally are here, maybe closer to 130s, 150s, maybe even more, depending on how deep we go. Okay. I would assume that if we're below this, like the vision I had, then I'm going to be looking for Bitcoins to be maybe very, very high, maybe closer to 200s or more, while by the time we're here, maybe even much, much higher than that, depending on how far we can run. Okay, so that's going to be things I'm paying attention to. The larger game may look something like this. Because right now this is such a strong support, and as I mentioned before, we are having evidence that we are bouncing, rejecting off of these areas that you've all had for months here. Okay, so this shouldn't surprise anybody. We're looking for this to possibly come back up, but the weakness is already on set. Okay, do you understand that? So here's where the weakness, or the first major weakness, appears. Yet there's a support here. So most likely we're going to round up to this area, which is closer to, right now, 4.37 dynamic positive. That means that as time goes on, that number rises, because we're not playing with a number, we're playing with an angle. If it takes, and this is a daily chart, right? Yep, a 2-day chart. So if it takes maybe a few months, that number can be actually more. So don't people say, oh, Jason, you said exactly 273. No, I'm giving you the angle. Recreate my work so that you can find out the price for any given day. But as time goes on, that number is going to rise and rise and rise, and then we're going to be looking for structure underneath that. It may look something like this. Okay? So if we come back up, we will reject. Now these circles will slide up and down along this track. But if it was now or around these seasons or the next few weeks, we're looking around average 4.73. You understand that? This chart has most of those important numbers for you all in one area, which let you know some of the very options. So if price comes back up here, we're going to be looking now for a reason to come back down, and that would be the bullishness. So that means that right now we may be at a top, with the next weakness not revealing itself. So if we just buy now, we might be gambling, you might be chasing the candle. You probably want to wait until there's valid reasons. Either you're below this chunk of price, 4.37, 4.40. We need to really be building below this area, and then we can start talking. Okay, we can start talking about the moves down to the 3.8 to 3.76, or even this range right here deep, and to a 3.57. Somewhere in that block is where I believe we're going, but are we going there now? There's no evidence that we're getting there right now. We may be jumping the gun, but you can use this maybe as a guide and see which territories we're entering and take the trades in kind. Okay, the next thing you need to know is that if this breaks and we start disrespecting, then this line itself fades away, and we still stress the borders of 5.63 to 5.59. Okay, so that means that we're going to be looking for structure above there that triggers the next movements up, and that would be very bad for cryptos. And again, if we crack through this 4.73, like, we would actually be looking to come up to those numbers, and that move up would be very negative for cryptos. Okay, so when this goes up, your cryptos are coming down, so that would be a very bad thing. Is there enough energy to bring us all the way up here? I don't think so, but I'm almost certain we're going to stop and pay the toll at 4.73, and that will be the determining factor. So is there evidence that this will move up? Yes, there is. Is there evidence it will move all the way up to 5.59? No, there's not. We need to deal with this guy first at 4.73. This is the structure that we've been looking at, and we're going to have to pay the price. You will see if we crack below and we're building, then this line gets faded away and we start disrespecting this line, then we can start talking about another move. So really, if the markets are gonna crash at this time, we're gonna be looking for those two moves: a move up to here and a move above there. Everybody understand that? Okay, so you can crack it in two pieces, and a moves above there will trigger some other events. So this is why I highlighted and showed you the health and the weakness. They happen here. So this is decision point, and this is decision point. Okay, health, weakness, health, weakness. Okay, you understand? The green one's health, the red's weakness. If you see the red one on the opposite side, you can always draw the green one. If you draw the green one, you can always draw the red one. They work in tandem. But these are going to be decision areas and decision area. And this will let us know if we're really going up there and the markets are going to fall in a big way or more. And I'm not saying it's a flash crash, but it would be bad for cryptos. And it's a very large territory. You can see it's a very large territory. Now let's talk about profit taking. Okay, if you're staying in the cryptos, and I'm gonna ride this out. Okay. There is another trade that may trigger in this range of 4.45 to 4.30 for this block, right? It means we're building under here, but there's very little profit before we get to 4.61 to 4.04. There's very little room for this to move up. So if you do, there may be some more trades, but not much more before coming to another support. So if we come down, we may be looking to bounce in this area, and I highlight it with a yellow border, and that means delayed territory. So you need to understand when I'm talking about that, means it wastes our time, bounces around in a range trading area, and it can waste your time. That's something I'm expecting. But the move down from here to these areas may be worth your time. So the moves below 4.16 and 4.04 range, if we're building underneath there, then we can start talking. That one's going to be a little bit more territory before we dig into the meaty part. And I think, again, the average we're looking at is around 3.57, somewhere in here where those two overlap. Okay, that's where I'm looking at for USDT.D. Does I have any other questions before we move on to a different cryptocurrency? Okay, so you can see this is the average, or somewhere around here. And there's my dream area where I had the dream, or I believe we're going to bouncing out of here. And then if we move all the way right here, right to the sevens or somewhere up into the higher areas, that's going to be a very large drop in cryptocurrencies. Huge. But I'm always paying attention to those areas in the longer term. Okay, any other questions? USDT.D, go ahead and unmute your microphones. Going once. Going twice. All right. If you're watching this clip and you want some more information about this is going to be our schedule, that's our website. On our website, you can type in almost any crypto you're looking at, and it will pull up maps. We have lots of cryptocurrency maps. Right now, we're about to look into XRP, and we're going to go into a lot of that information. If you're interested in many of this type of content, just come to our website, and I hope it blesses you, and you'll get invited to the links every single one of our sessions about 10 to 15 minutes before in your inbox on Patreon, and God bless you.